He phoned me. And I remember I just said to him, just don't do anything stupid, I'll fetch you on Saturday. On Friday, 12 o'clock, they phoned me to say that he'd done.
Drug abuse in South African society is rampant, and we are regarded dubiously as the worst substance abusers in the world. The most prolific use of alcohol and drugs is arguably in schools, where children as young as 10 years old are hooked. Clearly, something needs to be done. And help is coming from an unexpected source.
You know what, children first of all want to know, when you come to do a program like this at the school, like, why are you there? What's your hidden agenda here? But once they come to know that you're there because you care about them and their purpose, they start opening up. And it usually only happens after maybe 10 days, sometimes 3 weeks. The kids come, and they come with huge issues that they've never opened up to anybody, not even their parents. Nobody knows about this.
Are you going to put your foot on the
Margaret Janneke and her team are tackling the problems associated with alcohol and drug use at grassroots level, with a unique syllabus designed to change young lives for good.
Margaret, how serious is the problem with drugs in schools?
You know what, it's hard to, every school's got a problem, because you've got the same, and whether the schools are rich, whether the schools are poor, it's just everywhere. It's a social problem because drugs have become acceptable. And the other thing that we really target in the schools are the more acceptable legal drugs, because we found, apart from the cocaine and the ecstasy and the tuk and the crack and all of those hard drugs, the biggest problem we've got in our schools across the spectrum is alcohol. Alcohol's a huge problem amongst our youth, and if there's a drug, a mind-altering drug that destroys their purpose, it's alcohol abuse.
I drank a lot for any and every reason. I actually didn't even need a reason. Whether it was in my room on my own or out with friends, I just drank. When I ran out of alcohol, obviously because it's depressing, it depressed me quite a bit. So that led me to smoking more and more marijuana if I had it. If I didn't have that, I would do whatever I could to get more alcohol. Then eventually I came to school drunk. I had 90% of a bottle of vodka that morning alone, within half an hour of being at school. I continued to drink it at school until someone actually noticed that this wasn't water. I was lying about what was in it, but that was easily overcome with more alcohol or more weed, painkillers as well. I used a lot of those.
Our program is facilitated by recovered addicts, recovered gangsters, prisoners who are trained over a period of almost 2 years, and then they work in a way that makes the whole journey so real for the kids. And most of our recovered addicts that work with the kids do all come from that background. So they've also dealt with the pain, they've also dealt with maybe dad not being there, they've dealt with the rejection, they've dealt with the issues that the kids are dealing with. So somewhere they can maybe share that reality and bring something home that, you know what, I did that because I was going through exactly what you're experiencing at the moment, but it wasn't the option, because look what happened 10 years down the line.
A recovering cocaine addict, Tanya Cochran's role as a bound facilitator is helping her healing process too.
Typical day would consist of using cat, coke, basically any kind of drug that I could get my hands on to get high. Quantities was averaging between 6 and 8 grams a day, that I was eventually reaching a point of just throwing up all the time. The choice to turn my life around came when I was sitting on an aeroplane going to a flight to be a mule and bring back heroin to South Africa. And I'd realized that I'd got myself into something that I didn't want to be involved in, and this is not what I was created for. You know, the thing is with the facilitation, our biggest thing is to show the kids the truth. It's not about sugarcoating it, it's not about the party, it's not about everything's fun. For us it's about teaching them and showing them that it does end, and when it ends, the hard truth. And that's, I believe, why we've had such a success rate, is the kids are realizing that people are lying to them and that the jail is not all what it's about. In band, the most important thing that we teach them is that they have a purpose and that they're worth saying no. You know, that peer pressure and influence and things like that are not worth it. That at the end of the day, it's going to be them alone. And they need to know that they weren't made for that, to know that they're loved and that they're special. With regards to how we teach, it's about teaching them the consequences of choices that they make, and that's the important part.
Now that seems to be a difference between your program and many others which are out there, is that you're actually looking at the root cause, which seems to have quite a moral basis.
You know what, the country's been, or the government's been talking for the last 2 years on moral regeneration, but they haven't actually taken the steps to plant the seed. So you've got to. I was looking at that, and when the vision was born for the curriculum, I saw that, you know what, it's about new values, new morals, and a whole set of things that the youth out there are battling with emotionally. And whereas you find that the drugs is the symptom, STDs a symptom, the HIV, alcohol abuse, whereas at the end of the day, when we get into the schools, we find that the children are dealing with issues where you've got to go back to grassroots, to identity issues, who they are as people, and that they're uncomfortable with the skin that they're born in, trying to jump into another one. And peer pressure is a huge giant for our kids to deal with today.
How has the Department of Education responded to your curriculum?
They are extremely excited. They think it's one of the, especially because it's home brewed, they are really excited about this.
This is Sun City Prison near Johannesburg, an unlikely place to recruit teachers, but these are teachers with skills. These two inmates behind me are part of a hard-hitting awareness campaign. It's called Bound, a poignant name for an initiative which seeks to free children from the chains of alcohol and drug abuse.
Now tell me how you got the CMAX prisoners involved in this project.
You know, as we went to the schools and the headmaster said to us, if you're going to roll this out, just please don't bring me a glorified testimony of an ex-addict that comes, you know, with the bling-bling and the Hummer and, you know, I used to be an addict and now I've got a successful business running. They said, bring us the reality of this whole thing, how it can really destroy a person's life.
Margaret's policy of using rehabilitated drug users to teach life skills classes is proving to be highly successful. How do you feel about going into schools and telling children about the consequences of drugs and alcohol?
I feel good because I'm a father and I know most of the things they started at school, where you meet up with different learners with different backgrounds and influences. So most of the things they started at school.
And what kind of reaction do you get from the children?
Oh, the reaction is a positive one. I must say, learners mostly they're crying, you know, others they feel pity for me, and others I can feel that there is a sense of change in their face, I can say.
Do you think this program, the Bound program, is a good one? Do you think it's the right message to be sending to schools?
Yes, it is a good program. You know, I think my wish is to spread it through non-provinces all over the country, because I mean, as you know, there's a high rate of violence in our South African schools. Teenage pregnancies, drugs and alcohol, gangsterism within the learners. I think this program will make a huge difference.
All schools have problems with drugs and alcohol. I think any principal or teacher believing that their school doesn't have a problem is naive. About 2 years ago, Margaret approached our school wanting to run the Bound program. Margaret presented very real evidence of substance abuse to our children, and as a result, the children saw from first-hand experience what it's like to be tied up with drugs, lose their freedom, becoming bound, as the program states. Parents and teachers are not always seen by children as being the experts on various issues. And having somebody who's dealt with drug addicts, who has experience giving real life situations as examples to our children often carries more weight. And I think the most important thing for us as parents and educators is to believe that this can happen to anybody. It doesn't only happen to other people's children.
I've got a whole lot of knowledge out of all these things because I have been offered some cigarettes and whatnot, and I actually rejected it because I don't want myself sitting there in jail and regretting my life and saying I want my life back. I actually want to enjoy my life to the fullest.
Reach for Life and Bound has kind of just helped me see that as much as I have a problem, or I had a problem, it could be worse, and I was one of the lucky ones. I managed to get out while I still could. Tanya helped me understand that there's always a way out.